Honorable Mrs. Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade of Jamaica, President in Office of the ACP Council of Ministers. His Excellency Dr. Patrice Gomes, Secretary General of the ACP Group, distinguished ministers, head of delegation. His Excellency Jean-Claude Brou, President of ECOWAS Commission, Madame Célie Montet, President of the ACP Committee of Ambassadors, distinguished ambassadors and head of missions, ladies and gentlemen. By choosing Togo to host this 107th session of the ACP Council of the Ministers, which will be followed by the 43rd session of the ACP-EU Council of Ministers, our organization has reiterated its attachment to Lomé, a city whose name is consubstantially linked to its memory and recollection, both distant and recent. Votre retour.
Your return to Lomé is a memorable act which the Togolese people and government warmly welcome. On behalf of the friendly hospitality, to quote from the Greek poet of antiquity, Homer, in his work, The Odyssey, which links our peoples, please, on behalf of the President of the Republic, President for Nyasingbe, President in Office of ECOWAS, would like to tell you that you should feel at home here. Your stay in Lomé attests once again to the high quality of Togolese hospitality. Togolese society is a society of hospitality par excellence. Madam President, Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, at a point in time when the ACP group is considering its own presence in the world, is asking questions on its reasons for being, on its own objectives, and seeks to redefine its partnership with the European Union when the Cotonou Agreement expires in 2020, we have to reaffirm our common feeling of belonging to our group and our shared reliance on each other. This feeling of common belonging and reliance on each other, this feeling highlighted by the Greek Stoics of antiquity when they contemplated the cosmos, must inspire us and reaffirm in us our solidarity, where you have what is multiple and what is one, the parts and the whole.
A whole whose survival depends on the commitment of each member state. It's in spirit of cooperation and interaction that we can assume the responsibility that are ours. The challenges we face today are numerous, and we must make wise, strategic, and responsible choices to reposition the ACP group on the international stage. From the quality and fecundity of our choices, initiative and action will result, then enabling or better empowering dividends that can help our state reduce inequalities and sustainable eradicate poverty. Nos populations nous attendent.
Our peoples are expectant. Their legitimate right to development must encourage us to avoid, in this session, the drunken boat syndrome. The drunken boat syndrome, if you are not aware of this, reflects a kind of nausea, the hypothetical situation of a ship which has lost its bearings. Fortunately, we in the ACP have not lost our bearings. We are here to come up with a common vision in Lomé. And the famous Roman statesman Seneca, in his letters to Lucilius, used to say, "There is no favorable wind for he who does not know where he is going." So, as I said, we know where we are going in the ACP. Unity must guide our steps. We must broach the future negotiations with the EU as a united group, as a pole of collective responsibility, which is solid. Though it is true that the unity of the ACP group as a multilateral pole of collective responsibility means what is called a plural unity, or perhaps unity in diversity, to take up the thoughts of Jürgen Habermas, because of the specificities peculiar to each continental group. Such specificities and divergences and differences should not, however, be given priority over our sense of unity. I can say more, but I'm a bit embarrassed, but I know that the ambassador of the European Union is here. In remaining united, we can work together and strengthen the positive sovereignty of our states. In other words, their external and internal ability to act. This unity in action in the ACP will help our states to reduce inequalities and put even further away the frontiers of poverty, and make our states and peoples come out of their present state of discomfort. What we are dealing with here is the war on the lack of development in our countries, the war on absolute and objective poverty. The present state of the world, which is almost comparable to the state of nature of Thomas Hobbes, is prejudicial to the ACP group and its peoples. Changing this unbearable state of affairs must be the aim of South-South cooperation, which we want and which we desire ardently. Let us not forget that one of the objectives of the ACP group is to work towards a new and more just and more equitable global order. The challenge still remains after 43 years of the Georgetown Agreement, is food for thought and calls on us to preserve our unity. No, it's not because we are together that we have not been productive. It's because up to now we have not acted together enough. Strength resides in unity. So it is time to come closer together, or to quote Edgar Morin, to come to the essence. Madam President, Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen,
your meeting is taking place at a time when tendencies towards self-withdrawal seem to strengthen our being together, testing our group fundamentals such as solidarity, unity and cohésion. Ces tendances centrifuges auxquelles nous devons nous opposer de toutes nos forces.
The divisive tendencies which we must oppose with all our strength must lead us to question the elements underpinning them. We are at a crossroads where we must be brave enough to look reality squarely in its face in order to come up with a clear analysis of our difficulties and find the necessary solutions. Well, friends, The famous German poet Hölderlin said it well in the style of Hegel, that where there is danger, there is also salvation. So we have to show imagination and innovation in order to extricate ourselves from this situation, because as Albert Einstein rightly said, as you know, he is one of the major scientific minds, in moments of crises or difficulties, only the imagination counts.
For example, for a scientific research and mobility of students and teachers. Many of our countries have, more than others, proven expertise in specific areas such as new technology, e-governance, tourism, agriculture, health, ocean management, and so on. So many diversity and opportunities that we need to put more than ever. We must initiate new form of cooperation. It's very important. By working together in a spirit of solidarity, our group can succeed in making our population the development actor we want. Le gouvernement de la République togolaise.
The government of the Togolese Republic would like to stress, therefore, the need to strengthen intra-ACP cooperation, because to develop ourselves, we must rely on our own strengths in a humanistic and self-confident perspective. Confidence in oneself at the individual and collective level, and as taught by the present generation of the School of Frankfurt, is the basic support for any development effort. Our internal cooperation will open up encouraging prospects, which undoubtedly will have an impact on our partnership with others. In this respect, I warmly welcome the fact that we have put the revision of the Georgetown Agreement on our agenda. And we are committed to considering it along the lines of the instructions given by our heads of state and government during the Sipopo summits in 2012 and the Port Moresby one in 2016, as well as in our position paper towards the ACP we want. The future of the ACP group depends on our ability to adjust to the profound changes in the international environment. The future is not, to quote Henri Bergson, what will eventually happen, but what we are going to do about it. You have to prepare the future. That of our group must be built around realistic and vital perspectives, which bind each of our states and the entire organization. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for multilateral action. Madam President, honorable ministers, Secretary General, ambassadors, heads of mission, the preparations for the post-Cotonou negotiations are a further concern which will be at the heart of your session. I should note that our European partner has already clearly outlined its vision of any future partnership agreement. But let us be frank. What is our vision? We hope to consider and adopt a negotiating mandate for the ACP group. The meeting you held on the 27th of May in this very room, that is the day before yesterday, I believe, made it possible for us to make progress on considering issues which may well be roadblocks to our common vision. On the ACP side, I think it necessary to emphasize most commendably the economic growth of a certain number of countries. Economic growth has made it possible for those countries to enter the category of middle-income countries. However, the economies of those countries are still vulnerable to exogenous shocks. and they must not be left to their own devices. In remaining together, we can resist crises better. When we look at some East European countries,
both our partner and our group have undergone profound changes that must be taken into account in defining the outlines of our future partnership. Europe, for example, has in fact grown from 15 to 28 member states, since the new states do not necessarily have the same historical links with the ACP countries. This enlargement has a serious implication for the orientation of the EU external policy. Similarly, the withdrawal of the UK from the EU, the consequences of which are not yet fully known. We have repercussions on trade between the ACP countries and the European Union and on the consistency of the European Union Fund, of which the UK is one of the main contributions. Nous voulons ici,
Before I conclude, Madam President, Secretary General, honorable ministers, heads of mission, I'd like to say how much the Togolese government is pleased to host an important ACP meeting here in Lomé. And with those words, I hereby declare open the 107th session of the ACP Council of Ministers and wish you, on behalf of our history and the principle of hope, which is dear to Ernst Bloch, full success in our deliberations. Thank you very much for your attention.